Today we are going to learn about Unit 16, which is on negotiation strategies. But before I start, let me just take you through the objectives of this particular unit. The first objective being explaining negotiation and how does it take place. Secondly, discussing various types of bargaining strategies in the market and how individual differences, ethics and situational factors influence negotiation. Thirdly, understanding the third party negotiation and how it can help in reaching an agreement. And lastly, pinpointing how common mistakes can be avoided during negotiation. Before we start, let us have an introduction about this concept or the term called conflict, which is important to understand before talking about negotiation. Now, conflict is a state of dissonance caused by the actual or perceived opposition of needs, values, and interests between people working together. Let us know conflict is unavoidable. Irrespective of the size of the organization, it is going to prevail. It affects each and every individual, whether associated with conflict or not. Now, conflict has to be resolved as well. So let us talk about conflict resolution. It is a process through which two or more parties find a peaceful solution to a disagreement among them. It is a process of managing a conflict and negotiating a solution. Key elements of conflict resolution include negotiation and conflict management. Negotiation. Now, negotiation is a process of reaching at a mutual agreement by the two or more parties. It spreads through everyone in the organization, whether be it employees, trade unions, management, or other stakeholders. And there is obvious labor bargaining with management. It is one of the most commonly used and beneficial skills that a manager can develop. The managers need to sharpen their negotiation skills, keeping in mind the diversified workforce, rapidly changing environment, shift towards team and empowerment, and global business environment. Also, it is easier to negotiate when the two sides have some shared interests and some opposed interests. And when we talk about negotiation, then the necessary prerequisites for negotiation include listening, ability to identify interests of both sides, persuasion, diplomacy, building and preserving relationships. Now let's talk about the principles of negotiation. Before we start the process of negotiation, there are certain principles that need to be kept in mind. Number one, developing multiple options to choose from and then deciding later. Avoiding premature judgment. Then avoiding searching for a single answer and avoiding thinking that solving their problem is their problem. You've got to own it as your own problem before starting the process of negotiation. Now, there was a short activity that was a part of the unit which can be done with the help of an instructor. Here, it is shown that negotiation can be done at workplace in aspects of salary, job roles, and responsibilities. Negotiation can also be done at home or with patients through compliance. So there could be questions like what are the other places where negotiation can be used, which has to be answered by the participants. Now, after learning about the concept of negotiation and the principles of it, let us understand about the step-by-step process of negotiation. So the process of negotiation starts with stating the problem, the reasons of it, why did it originate, whom does it belong to, who are the parties affected by it. Secondly, identifying the real needs on both the sides. What is it that is leading them to take the help of negotiation process? Thirdly, restating the issue once again for clarification. Presenting possible solutions and deciding on the best of it, and finally reaching upon a consensus which has to be built upon by the parties involved in the negotiation process. It can't be one-sided, it can't be one-ended, it has to be agreed upon by both the parties. Let's study the process of negotiation that starts with investigation and preparation stage, moving on to presentation, bargaining, and agreement. Now, these steps would be explained in detail in the following slides. The first phase being investigation and preparation phase. This phase includes accumulation of various factual information about the issues and alternatives and gaining access to softer information, other concerned parties' interest, position, personality, and style. Now let's talk about Batna. Roger Fisher and William Ury conceived a phrase Batna in their book Getting Negotiation Strategies to Yes, Negotiating Without Giving In. Batna is an acronym used for the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. This is one of the important parts of investigation and planning phase. Batna will help to decide whether to accept the offer or term for negotiation, but its careful selection and what all alternatives are available has to be considered. Availability of various alternatives must be evaluated through evaluation of proposed deals. Now here is the detailed process of Batna. It starts with preparing list of various alternatives which have been gathered from different sources. Secondly, improvising and working on various ideas, exploring which alternative appears to be realistic, which can be worked upon. Then identifying and keeping the best alternative. That means it involves the process of exhaustive decision making and thinking and arriving at the best solution. Keep on working on updating one's Batna to be in sync with the changing dynamics and remembering not to reveal one's Batna to the other party in order to be arriving at a conducive solution. Now the second phase of negotiation process is called presentation phase. It means presentation of initial orders and demand either in writing or in oral format. Care should be adopted for choosing right words and self-presentation to project the right image through effective verbal and non-verbal communication. Comes the third phase, that is bargaining. It is a phase where managers try to reach at a mutual agreement with the help of various negotiating strategies and tools. The managers should be concerned about facts and people at the bargaining phase. This will make the position of the manager stronger because if the facts are authenticated, verified, valid, reliable, then it is likely to help you to come up with a better solution. Lastly, active listening, feedback, persuasion, and the various communication techniques and barriers all come into this phase. Last but not the least, agreement phase. It is a final and ultimate step where negotiation comes to an end. Here, the agreement is finalized with the terms and conditions acceptable to both the parties. The process of negotiation is continuous. Once an agreement is reached, negotiation over clarification and implementation are likely to continue. Moreover, one party can stop the negotiation process at any time, which may cause restarting of the process. Now let's look at the features of negotiation. Negotiation can be used in various settings like parking, retirement, insurance issues, in the promotion related decisions, space and equipment related decisions, expectations and time commitment, professional development opportunities, and in administrative support. Now, the common errors that can be caused during the process of negotiation and which should be avoided by the parties include assumed shared values, assumed similar communication preferences, then expecting reciprocity, avoiding conflict, not listening carefully, and also any other perceptual bias that can come in the way of negotiation process that should be resolved, that should be removed through open communication.